all over the world is marked as the month of love, and also in celebration of Valentine. In celebrating the day, people, especially partners, spend quality time together either by cooking, listening to music, going to the cinemas, enjoying popcorn together, or buying gifts for their partners. But there is this group of people, for them, their date is their mobile phones. Yes, you heard me right. They go on dates with technology. Today on Ghana Web TV, we'll be speaking to Ogo, a marriage counselor and the vice president of Synergis Institute, on love in today's digital age. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Ghana Web TV. As I told you earlier, we'll be having a short discussion with Ogo, a marriage counselor, on the topic love in today's digital age. Welcome to Ghana Web TV, Ogo.
So good to see you again, Venice.
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years, right?
Yes, it has, but we've been communicating online.
No, but physically. Yeah. You look younger than I used to know. It looks like you don't want to age, you know?
What can I say? You look more beautiful.
Thank you, Ogo.
Thank you so much.
So, in recent times, most of the weddings that I've been invited to, you hear the couple saying that they met on social media, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp groups, Tinder, and any other media platform. Yeah. So this question keeps coming. Okay. Can true love be found on social media?
Wow. I like the way you put it. But one thing that a lot of people have not come to terms with, is the fact that social media is a community, like any other community that you can find yourself in. And people tend to express themselves a lot on social media. People say that, you have a lot of us that go on social media to pretend we are what we are not. But that happens in real life as well, doesn't it? It happens everywhere. And so social media is a community. And we actually refer to this generation as a digital generation, the digital age. And what it means fundamentally is that we now have people that are more comfortable, with doing a lot of things online. In fact, I remember, I think it was Kwame Ahiabino II that said that there are only two things you cannot do online now. That is to bath and to eat, but you can do any and every other thing online. That's how far it has gone. But, a lot of us are still struggling to see social media as a community, just as, Accra is. And the other very interesting thing is that it is a community without boundaries, So you're on Facebook, you have 4,000 friends on Facebook, and they are made up of people from all over the world. Now, if you were to just be in an Accra community, you are restricted by location and boundaries. But now you're connecting to people in the US, in Canada, in the UK, in South Africa, in Swaziland, wherever, and you're communicating with them as though you're looking at them face to face. And so it's an exciting thing for the people that know how to use it. And yes, you can find love on social media.
Okay, so let's come to the basics. What is love?
That question, Venice. It's love. Love means different things to different people. And there is something that people do not actually pay attention to when they want to define love. And that is the fact that they are not considering the expectation of the people that are looking for it. Now, love is a two-way traffic. There's the angle of what you're giving, and then there's the angle of what you're receiving. And in my books, I talk about it from the perspective of loving and being loved. Now, those have expectations. And every time you speak about love, you talk about need, okay? Could either be the need for support, the need for companionship, the need for a sensual yearning, to be quenched, or any of those things. But love begins with a need, and love is made manifest when that need is responded to, And so when you ask me what is love, we cannot speak of it without first discovering that there's a need, and then the fact that that need is being responded to, is the fulfillment of love. So there cannot be love without a need, and there cannot be love without a response to a need. You know, so.
Very interesting definition
Yeah.
for love. How different is your generation's love compared to my generation's love?
Okay. Talking about digital again, this generation, well, they are called digital natives, and so that makes us digital immigrants, as it were. But you know, in our generation, culture was a bit more present, you know, and if you're focusing on a Ghanaian perspective, then you know you're looking at a Ghanaian perspective. And for you, you know, going into a relationship, wanting to be married and all of that, there are so many things you need to put into consideration. So many things, you know, people that you need to reach out to, inquiries that need to be made and all of that. The concern with this generation is that some of those things are not paid attention to as seriously as they ought to be. You know, people meet themselves, they fall in love, they want to take it to the next level. Nothing bothers them, nothing, you know. But I think it also brings a lot of danger, you know. So what I'm trying to say is that it should actually continue to be the same, a bit of exposure that adds value. But even from that digital perspective, I don't think culture is something we should forget. You know, we should still pay attention to it. But now people are a bit more adventurous, you know, with whatever it is that they want to do. And it's causing a bit of a problem, even, you know, in the family unit, because so many people do not pay attention to the things they need to pay attention to. Okay. And so love, its commitments and the things that flow in it do not happen the way it is supposed to happen. For instance, in the African culture, we say that marriage is a union between not just the two people that are coming together, but between two families and sometimes two communities. But the digital perspective and the way we look at things right now is just between the man and the woman. We love each other, let's move. You know, and there's a bit of danger that comes along with it.
So, can I say that this generation is always in a rush to move on to the next level when it comes to relationship?
It's a generation that is definitely in a hurry. There's definitely a lot of hurry, you know, with the way things are done. And, you know, with all the motivational speakings and talks that are coming out, where you have people saying that you can actually achieve a lot of things through shortcuts and popcorn solutions and all of that. You can be, you know, you can be a millionaire at 20, you can be anything you want at 22, you know, you just need to put this together and put this together and you have achieved, you know, so there's that mentality that, you know, says that you can achieve so much in so little a time. That wasn't the mentality in my generation. You know, and it's a bit of a concern because in the process you don't know people enough. You don't know when they are presenting a certain dimension of themselves and you haven't seen everything. You also have people that are not properly groomed in whatever it is that they are walking into, going into relationships as well. And then the support system is also kind of reducing or almost disappearing, if you ask me, you know, because when we were growing up and you're in a relationship, there are certain things you cannot do in your relationship because there are people you're accountable to, you know, and you are not permitted to keep it a secret. In fact, if it is a secret, then it's suspect. It's not a good relationship, you know. People need to know. And so even whether there are misunderstandings, investments, things that you want to know, there are people that are there to guide you and tell you some of the things that you need to do. But with this generation, you actually get to know when the thing has been done.
We are very secret.
You know, and you're receiving notifications about things that you ought to have been a stakeholder in, and so it's a bit problematic.
Okay. Still on social media, what are some of the negative and positive effects social media is having on today's digital age kind of relationships?
Okay, so the first thing is that, like I will always say, as far as social media is concerned, that the problem is not the technology, but the people that use the technology. Okay, so you have people that gossip in real life. They will gossip on social media.
Yeah.
You know, people that are quarrelsome in real life or secretive in real life, they'll do the same on social media. People that are loud and flamboyant in real life, they will do the same on social media. You know, and so you have things like that going on, and so it's also an indication. If you pay attention to the kind of things that people do, you might be able to tell the kind of person that you're dealing with. Now, when you are on social media, like I said, let's start with the advantages, and I think there are so many. In our days, if you had a couple married, and when I say in our days, it's not like I'm so old and it's so, it's not so far away, but back then, I remember that at some point my parents were in a long distance relationship because my father had to travel a lot. You had to call, and you had to call at a certain time, that kind of thing, and the phone call was all you had. Or you send a postcard, or you send pictures, they wait and take pictures, or you wait and clean them up, and then you send it, they say, this is how I'm doing right about now, and all of that. But when the people are receiving the information, they're not receiving real-time information. There will be pictures that you took a week before, or something like that, But now, social media makes communication, even in long-distance relationships, real-time. All you need to do is go on Skype, or do a Facebook call, video call, or WhatsApp call on video, and you actually see how the person is doing. So if the person says, I'm fine, you're looking at the person, you should be able to tell whether the person is fine or not, And so it has made communication more beautiful, more special, and couples that truly want to be accountable to each other, it has also helped them to be accountable to each other. Now, there are no time barriers anymore when it comes to communication, when it comes to sharing information, and the people that know will tell you that communication is very, very important when it comes to having a sustainable relationship. And so the value it has added is awesome. Is awesome, even just in the area of communication. And so in terms of the disadvantages, what I would say is that social media is a tool. The disadvantages that come along with it is as a result of the people that use it. If you want social media to be a distraction, it will be a distraction. And yes, it is a distraction in a lot of relationships, but because that's what they want to do. And so we call it a tool because it is something for you to use, meaning you have control over it, and for as long as you remember that you have that control, you know what the limits are, like for couples that are together and you find yourselves always on the phone and all of that when you're sitting beside each other and you should be talking or doing something together, but you're on the phone. It has become a distraction, and you should be able to tell yourself, this is where I think they should stop for the day so I can spend time with my wife and my family, So it now is a function of the choices that we make. But in terms of the advantages available, social media has made a lot of advantages available to us.
I follow up on what you just said. So should couples set parameters when it comes to social media, the use of social media, so that it doesn't really affect their relationship negatively?
Yes, I think so. And I was almost going to say I completely agree with you. They should set parameters, just as they set parameters in every other thing. You set parameters with work. There are couples that have said we will not bring work home, so that we can have our moments together, so that we can spend time with the kids. It is a choice. And so you can do the same with social media. You have couples that say, we cannot spend more than 500 Ghana cedis in this month because of the projects that we have. And they stick to it. So they can also say to themselves, we cannot do this with social media when we are together. There are families, families that when they're on the table, you don't bring your phone to the table. So once it is dinner time, and you see with dinner, they have the dinner, they have dessert, and then they spend some time to talk. Okay, so dinner would usually take between 40 minutes and an hour. And they say, don't touch your phone. Don't bring it to the table. And they have that as a tradition, and it adds a lot of value. There's nothing that can't wait. Yeah.
Sex in the digital age. Of late, we get to see a lot of leaked sex videos on social media. People in long distance relations sometimes also
share videos of themselves.
So how should they be guided using social media in spicing up their sexual life?
The first thing is that if you don't know your device well, don't use it.
Okay.
If you don't know your device well, don't use it. A lot of people just pick up their devices, and because they know it can record, they just start recording. They do not know what will happen next after the recording and all of that. And then when you want to do something, remember you have control. Take your time and make sure you know what you're doing. There are people that have inadvertently posted content on social media, because they have a phone that once you want to post and you click video, everything on your phone just appears. And if you're not careful, you might just click something by mistake without realizing it. So first, understand your device, understand how your phone works before you begin to do any of those things. I have heard couples that do sexting and video calls of themselves for whatever reason. Okay. I wish you don't have to, because of the risks involved. But the second thing you must do is make sure you know who you're doing that with. We live in a society now where when that kind of video trends, you can even make money. Thinking of Kim Kardashian and the rest. You can make a lot of money out of it right now. But make sure that if money is not your intention, which is another conversation for another day. But if you're going to send naked pictures or videos of yourself to someone, make sure that that person is someone that has something to lose if that video goes out. Okay? Sometimes the fact that the person is your husband or your wife is not enough. You need to make sure that the person has something to lose. Okay, so it is a relationship that is important to that person enough to want to protect what you have given, and what you have shared. Now, there are also regimes, and people need to know this. For instance, the E-Transaction Act of 2012. We had the 2008 one, but now the 2012. Some of those things are criminal. Sharing such content and all of that. So you need to also know how to protect yourself. But left to me, I'd rather we don't do some of those things. But most of the people that have done it, what we hear is that it was sent by mistake. It was shared by mistake. We're not expecting for it to happen and all of that. And if you're going to use a device that you have, recorded stuff with, and you're going to sell it, okay, do well to even format, clean it up, do something, okay? Because if you don't, you pass that device to another person and everything in it is in it. You've got to be very, very careful. Just like you manage your privacy. When you get into your room, you want to take a shower, you lock your door, and you're coming out from the shower, you tie your towel. You need to take measures and make moves to protect yourself.
The discussion is really getting very interested. But we will have to go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing cheating, polygamy, and then divorce. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ghana Web TV. So I want us to get much more deeper into the discussion. Let's talk about cheating, divorce, and then polygamy.
Oh.
Can a person have multiple partners?
Wow, okay.
Difficult question, I guess.
Well, difficult because for some people, it's a moral issue. It's a moral issue. But we must always, appreciate the fact that morality is subjective. And so I cannot use my morality to judge your morality or your actions, okay? It would be completely wrong and irresponsible of me to judge your actions based on my morality. And that is something that a lot of people do, in the world, and it expresses a very high level of intolerance, to the things that we do. Every society has a conscience that guides it, and the morality of the society proceeds out of the conscience of the society. Some of the times, morality, has various dimensions, and so when you speak about a person having multiple partners, You look at it from a cultural perspective, you can look at it from a religious perspective, and then you can even look at it from the perspective of English law, which Ghana, operates. And since we're talking in Ghana, I know that this goes far beyond Ghana, but if we're talking from a Ghanaian perspective, then we might also need to look at the ordinances that proceeded out of the English law. So when you look at it culturally, okay, yes, a person can have multiple partners, in our part of the world, it's more with polygamy, so where a man has, more than one wife, as it were. But when you look at the Indian community, you have some communities in India practicing polyandry, where a woman can also have multiple partners, So culturally, it is a subject for people that practice it to speak on. And when you speak religiously, if I may use that word, and you look at Christianity or Islam, there's none of the two that speaks against polygamy. None of the two speaks against polygamy. There was a time a lot of Christians in history used to say that the Bible forbids polygamy, but the scholars of the Bible will tell you that there is no part of the Bible that says polygamy is a sin. Then when you look at it from a legal perspective or from the perspective of the English law, there's actually a crime called bigamy, and that crime of bigamy presupposes that someone has gone into multiple relationships or has married more than one person, and we said that you have committed the crime of bigamy. But one very interesting thing, even in the English community, yes, so you might not marry another woman, but you can have a mistress. And when you have a mistress, it's not bigamy because you've not married the person, but people go ahead to have mistresses. But I would like to warn that, like I said, we can look at it from a moral perspective, but it will also be unfair to use your morality to judge another person. So should a person have multiple partners? It depends on the person and what that person holds, as his value or his conscience.
Well, with this question, some people might say maybe I'm trying to be a feminist here. Women are a little bit selfish. We don't like sharing our partners. You see, so that's why we always have issues with our partners cheating on us. You see, so my question is, should women accept cheating as part of a man's makeup?
Do you know that there are polygamists that cheat? Yes. So even in polygamy, you can cheat. Yes, even in polygamy, you can cheat. And so I think that sometimes people, and I'm not talking about feminists now, well, people mistake polygamy for promiscuity.
Yeah.
They're not the same. Polygamy is a way of life for some people, and we've even had communities where they made it a law, that men have got to marry more than one woman, okay, because of the need for procreation and to be able to sustain the society in terms of population, And then we also have situations where you've even had, women advocating for polygamy. There's a video that is going viral on social media right now about a lady that visited her cousin that had a baby in the hospital, and she said that within that week or that day, 300 kids were born. No, 250 kids were born, and only 5 were boys. And so she was saying that we should push for polygamy, or else because there's an obvious man shortage, and that a lot of women are not going to be able to find husbands. But that was a woman saying that, and so it depends on the perspective that people are coming from, and we must be able to accommodate, the views of other people when it comes to issues like this. And when you say that women are selfish,
we just don't like sharing our partners with another woman.
But the thing is, I have seen very successful polygamous relationships, even in the course of my work. Very, very successful polygamous relationships where you even have the mothers of these particular kids trying to outdo the mothers of these particular kids in the lives of these other kids, and they show so much love, they work together and all of that. And I have also seen monogamous marriages that couldn't last, that hit a brick wall. As a matter of fact, if you check it in terms of ratio, you have more monogamous marriages breaking than polygamous marriages.
Why? Why is it that way?
Because the problem is not the institution, but the people in the institution. And so if I have a struggle with envy and competition, I will compete with even my own daughter. I'll compete with my son. I'll compete with my mother. I'll compete with my husband. It's a problem that I need to deal with. If I am insecure, okay, and I see my wife and my son, okay, talking and spending time together, I'm going to get jealous and I'll go, what is going on between two of you? And it's interesting that you actually have, grown-up married folk having misunderstandings based on stuff like that, And then you also have polygamous marriages where the women are so understanding and they're working together, and they say, look, we have come into this family, let's work together to grow this family. They don't have a struggle with envy or competition. And the man is also making sure that there's balance, in the marriage. And it's going on well.
Okay, so why do people cheat?
What people call cheating. And I'm not saying that you don't have people that just go out of their way to be promiscuous. It happens, and we have a lot of people that do that. But when you look very critically at the situations that we call cheating, it is actually a consequence of things that have happened in the relationship which people were not paying attention to.
Consequence?
Yes, so I'll give you a few instances. So this woman is married, and they started out having a wonderful relationship. And then it got to a point in their life, the transitions of life, okay, and the ambitions of human beings brought her to a point where the husband does not even pay attention to her efforts, does not pay attention to the sacrifice that she's making and the support that she's providing in the home. All he ever talks about is, you don't bring money to the table, you're useless, you're not important, when are you ever gonna bring money to the table and all of that, forgetting that she made a lot of sacrifice to keep the family together, even if it's just in terms of the house chores or providing leadership for the kids. And she has forgotten, or almost forgotten, the sound of I love you or you look beautiful. And she has lived with that for 2 years, 3 years, Then one day, she's standing at the bus stop, waiting for a cab to go to the market. And this young man passes, or this person, let's not even say a young man, this guy just passes, looks at her and says, Madam, please don't be upset. I don't mean any harm, but I just want you to know you're beautiful. Okay? Imagine the smile that will come on her face and all of that, and the kind of impact that statement is going to have on her. And then the next thing she wants to do is she wants to hear it again. See? And so she wants to be at the bus stop at the same time, hoping that the guy will pass. Okay? Then he passes the next time. He might not say, you look beautiful. He might just say, the way you combine your clothes and the shoe and the handbag is just beautiful. Okay?
That's a compliment.
That's a compliment. And it's beautiful. She smiles again. She wants to hear it again.
Yeah.
And then they're becoming friends. They're getting closer. She never intended to have anything to do with the guy. But there is a restoration of something that she's been missing, that has been given back to her by somebody. Okay? And then it gets to a point they exchange phone numbers. She always wants to hear from him. Why? There is something he has activated again inside of her. So she wants to hear from him again. They keep talking, they keep chatting and all of that. Okay? In Nigeria, we have this proverb. I think you've heard me say it before. Now from clap, we enter dance. Okay? It's growing and nobody's paying attention. It's been a month. It's been 2 months, but they're getting closer. Then before you know it, she begins to share her problems with him. It might not be about the fact that my husband doesn't love me or anything. It might just be problems, okay? Oh, my son hurt the other day and I've been working on it, but the sore is not going. And the guy makes a beautiful suggestion. Why don't you take him to the doctor, check his blood sugar. Let's make sure that he's not diabetic and all of that. It's sinking, okay? She has found a confidant in the guy. It's growing. And you notice that everything she is getting are the things that the husband has stopped giving her. And then suddenly, one day, one thing is going to lead to another, okay? Because maybe the guy will start giving her gifts and she'll also start giving the guy gifts, okay? And it is not just necessarily about providing support. They get to a point where they are playing husband and wife. And the moment you begin to play husband and wife, the privileges that come along with being husband and wife will automatically, inevitably, happen in your life. And so one day, they have sex. Or they start hanging out. Let's not even say they have sex, but they start hanging out so much. Then the husband finds out, gets angry, and says, my wife is cheating on me. What he doesn't realize is that he's looking at the consequence of his inactions, of the things that he refused to do. And so I always say to people, and I mean for men even suffer much more. Okay, you know that. Imagine a situation where you hear that a married man masturbates. The question is, why does a married man have to masturbate?
What's his wife there for?
What's his wife there for? And you discover, sadly, that a lot of women use sex as a weapon of control against their husbands. And so there are men who haven't had sex with their wives in over a year. 2 years. It is, some of the times you hear these things and it blows your mind because you cannot believe that it is happening, but it is happening. Then one day you hear that the guy hung out with this young lady, quote and unquote, side chick. And everybody is like, how dare he, and all of that. But you're not paying attention to the fact that this is actually, and so this is a consequence. And so when we speak of cheating, we must first settle that what we are seeing is not a consequence of actions and inactions that people in the lives of these people took, okay? And this is a lesson to all of us, that we must make sure, okay, that we guard our relationships, do the things that we need to do in our relationships. Don't use sex as a weapon of control. Don't use money as a weapon of control. Don't be too busy for your relationship. Don't forget the things you said to that woman or to that man that made them decide that, oh, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Don't treat them like trophies, because once you win a trophy, you want to win another one. Don't treat them like trophies, because if you disregard them and you stop showing them that love that brought them to you, somebody else might. And that is where the problem will begin.
On the basis of cheating, is forgiveness a choice or mandatory?
Forgiveness is a mandatory choice. The reason I say it that way is that couples must always remember that when there's a conflict, even if it arises through cheating, the focus must be the relationship and not the interest, okay? That we come, and that is where the forgiveness issue comes up, because the forgiveness is not just I forgive you, but I must also forgive myself for creating the atmosphere that made you make that mistake. Do you see? And so you see that it is, that's why I say it's a mandatory choice, because if you don't give it, it's not just the relationship that will suffer, you too will suffer, okay? You will wreck in the bitterness. You will wreck in the struggle, okay? And people get to a point where they say, I'm sorry so many times and you're not willing to, they move on. And when they move on, you're still bitter. And when you're bitter, you're the one the thing is killing right now. And so, forgiveness and healing also are different. The day we forgive is not the day we heal. And so, when we speak of forgiveness, we must also remember that healing is very, very important. So it's about letting go. It's about saying it and meaning it. It's about providing the relationship, the support that is going to help, us get out of that situation and stop taking it for granted. And so when you say to somebody, I forgive you, and I don't want A, B, C, D to happen again, you see? So she says to you, I won't be calling him anymore. Like I said, maybe they haven't slept with each other, but they speak to each other till 12 or 1 a.m. And now you're getting jealous because you can obviously see that she's spending her time somewhere else. And then you say to her, I don't want you dealing with that guy anymore. But are you also saying to yourself,
will you be there for her?
Do you see? So you see that forgiveness and healing is a large spectrum that we actually do not pay attention to the way we're supposed to pay attention to it.
When should a person opt for a divorce?
When the marriage has broken down irretrievably. When, irreconcilable differences, or you get to that point where you just know you can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Interestingly, because of the kind of expectations we walk into marriages with, which sometimes are very unrealistic, we stay in the marriage and it is absolutely a torment, and we are not willing to make the sacrifice to correct the things and repair the relationship. So we're just now not just roommates, but we're just killing ourselves, by installments. At that time, the marriage is not what it is supposed to be anymore. You also have abusive relationships. People just pay attention to physically abusive relationships, but they are mentally, psychologically, emotionally abusive relationships. When you're in that kind of relationship, death is around the corner. If you do not have the willpower to live above that situation first. So there are people that have lived above that situation. So they've said to themselves, I'm here because of the kids. But if it is abusive, physically abusive, they'll beat you one day till they'll beat you to death. You need to leave. You need to move on. If it is psychologically and emotionally draining or abusive, and you think it is something you can live above and put yourself in that space where it doesn't matter anymore, it's a hard place to get to. Some people say they have gotten there. I don't know. Okay, but if you get there, it's fine. If you don't, move on. Okay. No relationship is worth your life. No relationship is worth your life. And it is a reality that some people must come to terms with. And so when you reach that point where you see that it's not working, it's not making sense, move on.
Thank you very much, Ogo, for your time today with us on Ghana Web TV. Ogo is a marriage counselor and the vice president of Synergies Institute. I hope you enjoyed our discussion today on Ghana Web TV. I am your host, Owusu Abenes. See you same time on Ghana Web TV.